Welcome back to the Purple Rock Podcast. This week we're reviewing Opening Pandora's Box was the episode title. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Judge Reinhold. You can also call me John. And I'm here with Andy Sayers. Andy, what'd you think of this week's episode?
It was alright. A lot of the big moments of the show aren't really the things I care about, but yeah, I'm into the season so far. I'm very few complaints.
Likewise. I mean, considering, again, like I said last week, we're grading on a curve because it's the start of a season, but it's good so far. It's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, what's actually really surprising is Redemption Island is actually working for me. And I think Carrie pointed out in the AV Club review, she kind of nailed it down, is that all of the twists and the potential switching and just the loved ones on the other side is making that an interesting part of the show. Like, the strategy that we would be missing is there in Redemption Island, and all we're missing now is just an extra challenge of the returnees that would have been thumping the loved ones anyway.
Right, and she pointed out another thing too, which is that all of these various twists and layers they've added to the game this year should just make it a complete mess. But it's actually somehow all working together, and it's making for compelling TV. A good season so far.
Yeah, so good on you so far, Survivor. Hopefully you learn the right rules from this. And especially today's episode, or yesterday's episode. But they probably won't.
No.
They'll be like, hey, Redemption Island was a winner, we gotta do it. It's like, I think it only works because of this loved ones thing. Like, I still don't want to see it in a normal season. But because of the, potential to switch out and all the storylines across the aisle, that meeting of the two tribes is actually interesting.
Yeah, they've somehow managed to make Redemption Island appealing to us, the strategy geeks.
So, let's talk about Redemption Island in the specifics. This week was a pretty eventful trip there. In fact, that was pretty much the highlight of the episode. After that, it was kind of standard stuff. First thing, Tyson reacts to Rachel getting voted out. What did you think of that?
Well, you know that I'm totally on board Team Tyson, which I guess is now Team Arson, because he's gotten quite cuddly with his boy Aris. He decided to stand by his man rather than stand by his woman, and he sat out and just let her fail in the challenge, which I give her credit for because she told him, no, you're in a good spot. I'm not. You stay where you're at. So good on Rachel for falling on that sword for him.
Yeah, I also just like the way that Tyson approached that. He fairly calmly recognized, yeah, that was the right game move. And I think he was prepared for it, just when he was running the scenarios in his own head. So it's nice to see Tyson react strategically. And also, this is one of the reasons why we like him. He doesn't take the show that seriously.
Yeah, but I will say that it was a little bit disappointing to see emotionless sarcasm bot Tyson suddenly turn all weepy and emotional because his woman was on the way out. My wife was loving that. She's like, oh, look, he's a real human being with feelings and emotions. But that's not the Tyson I know and love.
Well, it's good that we got it over with now, right? Now he can just go back to being Tyson. Broken Wing Tyson, but Tyson nonetheless.
Broken Wing Tyson might actually be an even better version of Tyson. Like he's out for vengeance.
Yeah, so Tyson became another one of the many people on the list to not like the Brad Culpepper.
There seems to be quite a club going, the anti-Culpepper club. Marissa dropping an F-bomb at him.
Yeah, even Jervis is like, hey, let's show some class out there.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty bad when even Jervis is telling you, tone that one down, going too far.
Before we get into more into the Redemption Island, I just kind of want to talk about Brad for a second, because this seems like a good opportunity. Here's the thing, like, his strategy or his tactics aren't that bad. And this is what a lot of people I find get confused about players and whether they're good or not, or their moves are good or not. And we saw this with Philip last season. The moves are right. It's just him that's wrong.
Yeah, we kind of hit on it, I think, in the first episode. Brad only has one option for his game. He's clearly an alpha male, brawn over brains type, and, his game could only go one way. He has to align with all the other alpha male types. There's only certain ways he can play the game, and he's playing the game the only way that he could conceivably win it. It's not going to win, but it's his best shot.
Yeah, he needs a little finesse, but he just doesn't have it, and you can't fake that. It is one of those things where, a lot of people don't want to give credit to some of the great dominant players, And not to sound like a complete fanboy, even though I totally am, but this is what Boston Rob has that a lot of people don't give him credit for. Is yes, he can run over the other players, and everybody wants to say he was just playing with a bunch of sheep, but he just has a charisma about him that people will let him do those things. Brad's doing big moves, and he's trying to take control over it, and everybody's just like, get a load of this guy.
I don't want to skip ahead, but I will say that what's funny is Brad, I bet if you talk to him at this point in the season, if you could go back and talk to him, he's almost said in his interviews, he thinks he's running things right now. He sees himself as that leader that they're all gathering around. Whereas if you go and talk to the other people in his male alliance, they're all thinking, well, maybe the exception of Hayden, they're all thinking, oh, good, Brad, human shield. He's going to be the lightning rod that everyone attacks, and we're safe behind him.
No, even Hayden, I believe he was the one that gave the interview today. It's like, let's vote Brad out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't give Hayden credit just because he doesn't seem like the type that's got a lot going on upstairs. But yeah, I mean, I think most of the people on his team recognize Brad's value, and it's not the value that Brad thinks he's adding.
Yeah, so nobody likes Brad, even on Redemption Island. I mean, 6 people voted the last person out. Yeah, Brad takes all the heat. One last point on him is he was right. You know what? And this is kind of just the theme. He was right. He's doing right things. He lacks finesse. He lacks the personality to win. He was right when he kind of shut Tyson down and saying, you guys haven't had to deal with this. You guys aren't going to Redemption Island. So I'll give him that small bit of credit, and then probably the rest of the time that we talk about him, be like, that guy's
Yeah, that's the one compliment we'll pay him this episode.
The next big thing happened is Colton quit. There wasn't a fake out. They played it straight with the previews because I guess that's basically all they could get out of Colton. I don't want to talk too much about Colton and his reasons because, come on, Colton, forget about him. But I do want to talk about the way people reacted to the way he was voted, that he quit.
You talking about his fellow competitors or people in the audience?
I actually want to talk about the way Probst laid into him because that was probably the highlight of the season so far.
It really was. You and I have discussed many times Probst's various affinities that he might have towards certain players and his distaste for other players. It occasionally gets a little annoying during seasons, but I gotta say, as a viewer and someone who was not really rooting for Colton, this one was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one area where, and actually there's probably multiple areas, but this is where you have to give Probst full credit. Above all else, and above all his He-Man loving, and the fact that he doesn't seem to actually grasp what makes a good survivor, he protects the game. And when people do stuff like what Colton was doing, he doesn't let them off the hook. He puts it down on them. And he never wanted Colton back. And every indication that we got, when they were like, oh, he's a great villain, he was like, is he really, or is he the kind of people that people don't want to watch? And we all thought when they were doing the injury people coming back, that was their excuse to bring back Colton. So I think as a producer, he stepped in and said, no, until they just said, no, we're bringing back Colton. What do you think?
I think at some point the other producers probably goaded him into like, no, this guy could be TV gold for us. That's the reason why they brought back Brandon Hance. So I think they have that desire to be more of a reality TV show than a competition. But I think, like you said, I think Probst views this game as his baby, and if he almost treats it like the fans do, like, hey, listen, there's tons of people just dying to get on this show, and for you to come out here and quit, you're dead to me. Like, we're moving on. We're finding someone else that wants to be out here.
Well, we'll talk more about quitting later on. That's a little teaser, but Colton deserved it. I mean, there was no reason for him to quit other than the fact that he didn't want to play anymore because he knew he couldn't play his way. He's come up with some justifications after that. And honestly, I think he probably came up with the justifications on the spot, but those are all lies. Colton didn't want to play because people weren't playing with him, and he took his ball and cried on his way home.
Yeah, I mean, you can justify his actions however you want to, but basically he realized he was screwed, and rather than trying and scrambling and doing whatever he could to hang on and stick around out there, he just said, you know what, screw it. There's no shot for me. I'm going home. And we've seen in the past some people that were in some pretty dire situations that somehow ended up hanging on and advancing in the game.
Even winning in the case of, say, like a Chris Daughtry.
That's the exact one I was thinking of.
But yeah, so Probst obviously had the strongest reaction to him quitting, even accusing him of quitting the last time, which has kind of been out there, especially when it was put out that he didn't have appendicitis.
Yeah, the old Colton conspiracy theories were floating out there.
Yeah, which, I'm not gonna, medical said he could leave, he left. But, he wasn't the only one that had, like, basically nobody was sad for Colton to go. I think Rachel was like, no, Colton, don't. But everybody was like, meh.
Yeah, it was one of those half-hearted protests, like, oh, you're gonna leave, oh, don't, see you later.
Yeah, and like even Tyson shut down Colton's, justifications that nobody wants to play with me, so I'm doing these things. It's like, no, you were doing these things before nobody wanted to play with you. And then here's the best part is, his fiancé, Caleb, didn't even seem to care himself.
No, Caleb kind of gave him the, attaboy, pat on the butt, good game, champ, and sent him home.
See you on the flip side. So, I'm guessing this probably isn't the first nor the last hissy fit of Colton that Caleb's had to deal with.
You get the idea that he's experienced this particular side of of Colton several times.
So, while quitting is normally, just a terrible thing, ultimately, this was like the best case scenario for us as viewers, wasn't it?
Definitely. I mean, the sooner he leaves, the better. And also, as someone who picked Caleb for the winner this season, kind of glad that he didn't have the option to jump in there and potentially take Colton's place in the Redemption Island challenges.
Yeah, and best of all, Colton's never coming back. Like, he is persona non grata now. He won't get talked to at the reunion. Like, he is out of our lives forever. We should probably unfollow him on Twitter. This is it. This is the end of Colton. And I'm kind of hoping, because this is the second season in a row now that they've brought back somebody for the sole purpose of generating controversy, and it's failed spectacularly.
Just to clarify, wait, you've got us following Colton on Twitter? I gotta remedy that as soon as this episode ends.
I was following the whole cast to see if there's any comment back and forth that we needed to be aware of. But he's not a member of the cast anymore.
We should start focusing on some of the Twitter conversations that go back and forth among this cast. I gotta say that this is definitely the most Twitter-heavy cast that we've had so far, I think.
Yes, and shout-outs to the ones that have actually replied to us.
And do we have any of them following us? I don't think any are following us yet.
Not yet, but once they hear this podcast, they were like, you're so right on Colton. But yeah, so last season they brought back Brandon Hance, and that almost created the worst situation in Survivor history. Like, somebody could have legitimately gotten hurt and it could have been actionable what they did. This year they bring back Colton amongst suspicions that he'd quit the first time, and he quits again. So what I'm hoping is that they've learned the lesson and they're just gonna stay away from these guys. I mean, Johnny Fairplay was not worth it his second time around. Your big villain characters are typically one note, and it's best to just accept you got what you got out of them and leave it be.
Yeah, the villains that we like are the in-game villains, not the reality show tropes that are just, oh, look at me, I'm the evil character. Like, nah, we like you when you backstab and you do dirty gameplay. That's exciting villains.
Survivor just recognize they don't need that. They're not Big Brother. They're not all of those other shows that I don't watch. There's drama inherent in the competition itself. And it's going to create as much as they need, especially because they're pretty good at the editing. So, and look, I understand why you cast Colton the first time. I even understand why they cast Brandon Hance, because his last name was Hance. But you don't bring him back. Be happy that it happened and move on. So, I mean, I can't think of another character right on their level. I mean, I guess the most obvious would be Nyanka, but she's not coming back.
No, she's not.
But that level, don't bring them back. Diminished returns can hurt the show. They got lucky this time. It was pretty much inconsequential. It was right at the beginning of an episode. They were able to tell the rest of the story. And they got very lucky with Brandon Hance that nobody got hurt. But I'm hoping that this is the last we see of that kind of character, at least as a returnee.
Right. Same here. And we've now hit the absolute limit on the amount of time that I can devote to discussing Colton. So let's move on. John and Brad started to form kind of a two-man alliance, it looked like. It looked like they were starting to separate themselves from the group. And so John actually shares the immunity idol clues with Brad. And so what does Brad do? He immediately says, hey guys, we gotta vote out John.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because every justification Brad has come up with for voting somebody out could just basically apply to anybody. It's like, oh, he's going to team up with his loved one later on. It's like everybody here has a loved one they could team up with except Caleb.
Yeah, did you notice everybody on the mats at the start of the season? Everyone had someone on the opposite mat.
Or, oh, we better vote out, Rachel because, although, he's claiming this as a strategy. It wasn't though. To get that other person voted out, the whole other thing could happen to you. Or you could do that to Vetus. His brother is quite a threat. But again, I mean, getting back to what I said earlier, I'm okay with that line of thinking with Brad because John was being shady. Like, he shared the clue now, but it's a little too late.
Yeah, again, it's like you mentioned earlier. Brad has kind of the right thoughts. He fails in the execution. I don't blame them for maybe distrusting John just because, like you said, he's been a little bit shady with those immunity idol clues, especially when everybody knows that you have them. You gotta at least let one person in on that. Otherwise, it just seems like you don't trust the people in your alliance.
He's probably also right to fear Candace's ability to come back in the game because she's just ice, man. She's not losing any of these challenges as the way they are currently constructed.
You would think she was Canadian. Her veins are so icy cold.
And honestly, getting back to the Redemption Island, we're just going to bounce back and forth. But I think this challenge and the other challenges also shows why Tyson was right not to switch. These are not challenges that you get to physically dominate your way through. They're little carnival games that anybody could win. Now, experience helps. I'm pretty sure Tyson would have been able to do it in less than 45 minutes. But you never know when something's just going to come along where it's just shuffleboard or something and take him out. So. Oh,
poor Tyson. But yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, it might be that we unlocked the more exciting mode of Tyson now that Rachel's gone anyway.
So yeah, I mean, John and Brad have an alliance until they don't. And are you shocked that the 5-guy alliance was not able to hold together?
Did I predict that it was going to crumble this week, or did I say it would last one more week?
You said one more week. This guy predicted that it was going to crumble this week, and this guy predicted that John was going to get voted out. Yay for this guy!
I was going to give you some credit for your predictions, because did you not also predict that Rachel would be the one to lose in Redemption Island?
No, I did. We both picked Marissa, but 2 weeks ago I predicted that Rachel was going to be the one voted out, which is the time now I must tell everybody I'm just that good. No spoilers. I don't read any spoilers. I don't even look at the pictures that CBS releases on Wednesday that apparently spoil part of the game. I'm amazing.
See, you're so good that I assumed you made the correct pick when you actually did not.
I think last week we both didn't really think that Rachel was going to actually compete was the problem.
Yeah, I actually put faith in the Tyson bot jump on that sword, but he didn't. Thank goodness.
All right, so moving along, the next big thing in the episode was the challenge, where we finally got to see family members square off against family members in physical duels. Actual duels, not like they call those other things.
Yeah, not the 3-person duels that don't technically count as duels. The challenge this time, I mean, we've seen this, or some variation of this challenge many, many times. I may as well have called it the Culpepper challenge, because it's basically the tackling dummy challenge, get your low center of gravity, drive the person off the mat, whatever the hell it is they were standing on.
Yeah, and we got to see the big Brad versus Jervis duel that had been promised. No body slamming, but Brad took care of business as one would expect.
It would be a monumental failure on his part if he didn't, considering that was about 80% of his job when he was in the NFL.
Yeah, but when they have the Brad Culpepper versus Grant Matos season.
Sure. I'm sure that one's lined up in the pipeline somewhere.
Survivor 45.
Survivor 45, we're out of ideas.
So yeah, that was one matchup. On the flip side, you had Sierra versus Kat, which was not a great example of physical skill.
Yeah, where's your Sierra now, huh?
Sierra's terrible.
She really is.
I mean, a lot of people have been talking during the season like, oh, she's going to win. Watch out, she's a special talent. I'm sorry, I don't see it.
I feel like I remember someone that was talking about her having this special talent that she could maybe pull it out. I mean, I have to go back and look at my notes. I feel like I've heard that mentioned at some point, though.
I'm going to delete all those episodes that ever says that.
As you should.
You know what? I didn't pick Sierra because of her physical skill. I picked her for other skills that still have yet to be shown and probably don't exist.
I was going to ask you which particular skills they were, and could you please demonstrate even one time that they were used on the show so far?
In addition to that, we had, I think probably the big battles were the daughters versus mom and brother versus brother. Moms were whooping family podcast.
Yeah, the entertaining one was Katie versus Tina. Just the huge grin on each of their faces as they were going at it. That was entertaining. To me, I like that much more than Sierra and Laura in tears as they're about to play a silly game, you know?
Yeah, I mean, neither of them could beat their old mothers, but what would happen if you fought your mother in such a challenge? Like, you just jump off the pier, right?
It wouldn't exactly be me versus my mom. It would likely be me versus my dad, right?
Yeah, and we'd beat our dads down. That's how we do it on Survivor.
That's how testosterone works. I actually did, as I was watching the episode with my wife, I said, just for the record, you would just bull rush your mom, right? And she's like, oh yeah, I would knock her in the water immediately.
I wonder how other survivors would do against their parents.
Yeah, the one that comes to mind, speaking of survivors against their dads, what if you brought back Cochran and he was in this challenge? You think his dad could take him?
Well, I think Cochran would have made some funny comments that they'd cut away to right before that. And then, no, I don't think he could take anyone, but maybe his dad would just let him win.
Oh, his dad did seem like a sweet guy.
Yeah.
Plus, he could accidentally call him John and Cochran would have just raged at him and knocked him right in.
That's right. It's Cochran now.
That's right. I'm past that nerdy Survivor state. Oh, wait. Nope. I'm still square in the middle of it.
Probably the most emotional of the battles was Aris versus Vetus. And I think just in that little battle was kind of a microcosm of everything they hope to get out of this season. And it was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the sibling rivalry thing, they've been playing it up since episode 1. And I kind of feel like, and tell me if you agree with this, Vetus sort of like set himself up as, if he won, it would be amazing, but if he lost, it would be expected. Sort of lowering the bar of expectations. He was like, oh, I'm a junkie, Aris is an athlete, so, it'd be great if I could beat him. What did you think?
I don't think there was anything calculated about it. I think this is their everyday dynamic. Every probably Thanksgiving when they reach for the same role, or whatever it is you guys do in that November Thanksgiving you have. And yeah, he's probably always like that, like, oh, I'll never be as good as Aris.
If they were Canadian, they would probably have some sort of dispute every Boxing Day, I suppose.
No, we actually have a Thanksgiving. It's next week.
Oh, happy Thanksgiving in advance.
It's because, we don't celebrate the one day we were nice to our native peoples. We actually just center it around the harvest.
You should have just named a professional sports team after a derogatory name for them.
They love that, I hear.
They do.
And then with Aris, you saw just typical little brother stuff. And the way you got emotional, though, kind of makes me think that your prediction that Aris is going to turn on Vetus might not be the way it goes.
I actually went ahead and put that one right on Twitter and even sent it to Vetus and said, hey, just so you know, your brother's going to turn on you at some point. As if, Vetus would not be aware of what the outcome of this season might be.
And then he replied.
He really did. He was like, you think he'd betray me? I think he would. He's a sibling. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well,
if he does, there's going to be a few tears. Just as a note, what I read, I believe today, or maybe late last night, is that this was not, and this is going to shock you, but Survivor edited the challenge to appear to be something that it wasn't.
You can splice in my loud gasp at this point.
Yeah, so what we saw was everybody did these, one and done battles, best of 5, or first to 5. In actuality, they were best of 3. So when you see Aris and Vetus fighting there, that was actually a compilation of their 3 battles. The same with Sierra and Kat, although I suspected that was a compilation of their 2 battles.
Likewise.
Because I doubt it ever went to 3. So just, if you're wondering like, oh, why did that look like that, or why did they do so badly? Quite a little bit of different, but the gist was there. So Tyson probably did a little bit more, and then, in fact, maybe even hurt his shoulder in the first of 3.
Yeah, this is one of those things that I don't really mind that they edit down.
No.
Like, as long as it doesn't have a great impact on the show, that's fine. Cut it down.
Oh yeah, no. Editing is our friends. They do this with challenges all the time. There's been times when they thought something was going to go really quickly, So they make it like a best of 5, and then 1 hour later it's like, all right, whoever wins this one is a winner. I pointed it out because some people they forget that there's an edit. And they use that to talk about, oh, this person really sucked. And it's like, well, maybe they sucked that one, but maybe they were great in other times. Or why didn't that person buy something at the auction? It's like, well, they probably did. They just didn't show it because it's just a repeat of, here's my money, take the food.
Yeah.
Shockingly, loved ones lose again. Honestly, actually, it was a bit of a surprise because you figured this was the challenge they were going to win. Just like in Heroes versus Villains, when the villains kept dominating every challenge until they got to a physical one and the physical superiority of the heroes just won out. Loved ones have the physical superiority. It just didn't matter.
Yeah, if there was a challenge this season that was set up for the loved ones to win, it's this one. I mean, all you have to do is shove someone off into the water. I mean, they've got these huge muscle-bound guys. Their women are in better shape than the women on the other tribe, with, allegedly, I guess, the exception of Sierra. The exception of Sierra because she's essentially a toothpick with a head on top.
Big head.
But I mean, other than that, and really the guys on their tribe did come through. It was just the women failed them.
Yeah, and that's why Marissa can be gloaty on Twitter about why that's what happens when you vote us out. But I think that's actually, beyond this challenge, is a bit of a lesson that the future survivors that are clearly listening to our podcast should take in mind. Guy strength doesn't necessarily matter that much. You don't need 5 strong guys, because if you have 5 strong guys and the other side doesn't, Survivor's going to throw at you challenges that require balance. It's like when you play co-ed softball, and if your girls are no good, then basically every third at-bat is an out.
Yeah, I think you can tell, like, there's this prevailing theory early on that you have to have these strong physical players. Really what you need is just a balance. You need some guys that are, the shifty Aussie type guys. You need a few brute strength guys, but even the brute strength guys, I mean, you don't need them that long. Probably 5 challenges in and they stop doing the strength stuff for the most part.
Yeah, because they've been away from their creatine shakes and their powerlifting. And also, a lot of those guys are just pecs. It's all for show. Most of the strongest people we've ever seen on this show aren't particularly muscular. They're, Ruperts, they're Toms, they're Brandon Hance for all of his other poor qualities. They're people that actually work with their bodies.
Yeah, whereas I'm one of the latter category. I'm a total beefcake, and I'm also supremely strong and would excel at these challenges.
Yeah, triple threat. But yeah, so it's just, I think, something that they always kind of overlook is that if you have strong females, that's a big advantage, because females match up with females and males match up with males. If the other side only has 3 males, but they're all really good, then your 5 don't matter. Aris got to do the challenge twice. And Brad got to do it once.
Exactly. Like we said, at some point when you're so heavily skewed towards those big muscle-bound guys, it just doesn't help anymore.
And maybe that's why when they got back to camp, all of a sudden those big muscle-bound guys started turning on each other. I mean, no, that's not why, but it would have been smart if it was.
Right. And getting back to that turning on each other, a point that we didn't touch on earlier. So Brad, in the midst of telling everybody, hey, we got to vote out John, also mentions, oh, John told me the clues as to where the immunity idol's buried. All right, so lay some odds for me here. Who amongst those that he just told that to are going to be the first to go looking for it?
Honestly, I think because, again, he did it in public, they'll do a group search. It'll be, the 4 remaining guys will head out together. Or at the very least, it would be the 3 of them minus Caleb.
I disagree. I think you could almost see the light bulb go off over Vitus's head as soon as he heard that. Like, okay, starting to plan right now when I can fake that I've got some diarrhea. I'm going to run off towards a waterfall and start some digging.
Yeah, but at Tribal Council, Vitus astutely pointed out that I don't want that clue out in the open. I don't want the suspicion. It's not worth the trouble.
Yeah, he doesn't want the clue, but he wants the idol. My prediction is he goes searching.
We'll see. I just think, just basically because of Caramon and this, idols might not be as powerful as they once were before. Everybody's kind of figured out the split vote scheme. People have figured out that, idols make you dangerous. So he might be of the mind that it's not worth playing. It just sets you up. Once you have an idol, you better be ready to play it early.
And speaking of needing to play it, everyone sort of debated flipping on Brad there. What'd you think about that?
I think it was the right move. I mean, basically, it's a basic survivor strategy. The first person that starts talking about flipping is the one you need to start thinking about flipping on.
Right. Brad was not able to see that the basic concept that if you have a tight alliance with someone and then you say, hey, let's get rid of someone from our tight alliance, the other people in your tight alliance might think they're next.
Yeah, and that's what Hayden pointed out when he got the episode title. Once you start turning on each other, everything's done. And look, it was always going to happen. For the same reasons why we just discussed that you don't need 5 guys worth of strength, you don't also need 5 guys that feel like they're going to dominate and win this game. A good alliance has the balance of not only, strengths in all different facets, but also just a couple hangers on. Like, we question what they need, like Monica and Jervis on the other side. Like, are they power? No. They're people that will vote with you that won't compete with you.
I'm guessing that Vitas and/or Caleb and/or Hayden was the level head here and was like, wait. I know we're discussing flipping on Brad, but Brad's useful to have around because, as we mentioned earlier, that guy's attracting all the negative attention. You want him to get the attention.
Oh yeah, every one of them was happy for him to take that role, and they were happy to continue. And also, John wasn't a team player, especially not with those 3. And every day that goes by is an opportunity that you can't vote him out. So I think the discussions about Brad were legitimate. I don't think they were just, editing, trying to throw us off. But no, I mean, the move, if you're going to change the alliance, and it was going to happen anyway, get rid of John now before he has an idol. Because even if he has it, he's probably not playing it tonight.
And he might get some nice island time with his wife, because she's now his bunkmate in Redemption Island.
Yeah, so Marissa is the big loser about what happened this week.
Well,
that's just awkward.
It depends on how open and liberal Marissa might be.
So that brings us to next week. Before we talk about predictions, what happens when, I'm going to say when. What happens when John or Candace wins the Truel next week?
First of all, how dare you? Because I am firmly on board the Marissa bandwagon at this point, even though, like you said, Candace sort of looks like she's got some ice running through her veins out there. She looks like a stone cold killer. But I'm going to bet on John having the rookie jitters and blowing the challenge and being out first. But regardless, I do think Candace will probably win the next challenge. And then the question that you were getting to, what are they going to do with that idol clue? Because Candace and John are both on Redemption Island. Here's what I'd love to see happen. Jeff says to her, Candace, who would you like to give this to? And she says, Jeff, I want you to send it to Malcolm. Really, there's not a good option for them. They clearly didn't seem to have any pregame alliances on the returnee side. John no longer seems to have any friends left on the family member side. So I honestly don't see what's in it for them. Why would they not just say, you know what, Jeff? No, nobody. Don't give it to anybody.
Yeah, like if that is an option, then that's the right one to take, unless they can identify somebody that they could build some, potential bridges with. But if he's like, nah, you gotta give him to somebody. Because agreed, they're both basically players without a country. They hate the people that voted out Candace to start the game, and they hate the people that just voted out John. I think the move then is to just pick Sierra or Katie, in the hopes that it messes up the plans of Brad Culpepper. And if not, it puts a target on their backs and somebody easy to beat next week.
The other interesting aspect of this is, say that Marissa does manage to snag first place in this next challenge. What happens then? Do you think John lays it down and says, you know what, honey, you take this one? Or do you think he actually competes against his wife?
I think we might see a little Rob versus Amber in the final 2 type thing where they're just hyper competitive with each other. And John yet again blows his chance to do something chivalrous for his lady.
Oh no, I think Candace throws him a stink eye, and then John just says, all right, honey, I'm laying this one down. It's yours. Go ahead. You deserve the chance.
That would probably be his better move. Like, Candace has a better shot in this game than he does, and not just because of her proven ability at Redemption Island, but she could actually probably, if she could let go of her anger, she could probably move back into a possible good position with the returnees, just if there had been dissension in the time that it takes for her to get back on the island. Whereas nobody likes John.
Yeah. John's just too sexy. No one can stand being around someone that attractive.
I just don't think he's built for this game.
Oh, he's certainly built for this game, Andy.
Yes. And in fact, I think we spent a whole segment last week talking about why they should have cast a dozen of other people than Candace for a third time. But I think they basically were brought back because it was 2 days before the show was scheduled to start taping. RC and her father were already on the island. The whole cast was there, and it was kind of like, well, those two are clearly going to pass our physical, so let's just bring them on and rush, go.
Yeah, Candace and John were the safety school.
Yeah. But, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Candace is going to win because she's the right balance that you need for these kind of challenges. She's athletic, she's smart, and she's calm. Her job is ensuring that people continue to breathe properly.
But, agreed. But getting back to the point that we were making earlier about the last minute casting, there was an interesting little tidbit I heard this week, and I think you heard it too. Malcolm admitted in an interview that they had begged him to come back this season, which, given what we know about both the ratings while Malcolm was on the show and the various internet chatter, is not the least bit surprising. Malcolm is uber popular.
Yeah, if they could sign Malcolm to one of those Samuel L. Jackson Avengers contracts where it's just a 10-picture deal, it's going to be Survivor with Malcolm every season, I think they'd do it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they'll have him back as a player as long as they can. If Probst suddenly decides, you know what, I'm going back to Celebrity Jeopardy or whatever the hell it was, then Malcolm will step in that role too. I think they have quite a love affair with Malcolm.
They'll bring him as a reward, like they did Rupert and Survivor Israel. They'll have him host, the after show. Just whatever they can do to stay in the Malcolm business, they're going to do. And they're smart to do that.
They are in the Malcolm business, and business is good.
Yes. I mean, the guy just gives good performances. He's good in every aspect of the game except, winning, but there's always an element of luck involved there. He's funny. He's a good looking guy. He's charismatic. He really, cares about the game itself. And yeah, he's young, so squeezes every bit of life out of him. You don't have Boston Rob anymore. He's retired, so.
Supposedly.
You gotta have Malcolm.
Yeah, Malcolm really, especially because, there's a lot of different types of fans of this show, and I think Malcolm really appeals to about 80 to 90% of them. He was a big fan of the show himself. He knows all about the history of the show. He will gladly debate strategies and moves he's made on the show. He's great at challenges. He's clearly a charming social player, even if it didn't quite work with the favorites last time. But that's partly because of the pregame alliances that would have been built before he got out there.
The next time he comes back with a bunch of other returnees, he's Mr. Popular.
He is. You can tell that Malcolm is one of those people, just like Tyson, I think, that's going to work the circuit and everybody's going to love Malcolm by the time they get out there.
Oh, you already see it. He's always tweeting hanging out with Cochran or doing a show with Parvati,
throwing back some drinks with Corinne.
Yeah, or I guess he's friends with Ars and Vetus. Yeah. He's in. He's probably doing all right with all the Survivor ladies as well.
You think he's getting into any cuddle action with Team Arson?
I think he's probably challenging Ethan's record for most cast members he can date off show.
Is that an official record? Because I want to go look that one up.
Do some Googling. Ethan did all right before he met Jenna.
Speaking of Jenna, not to tip my hat here, but that kind of brings up another important discussion that we've had this week. Colton quit, as we noted earlier, and we're not going to talk about that anymore, but the very idea of quitting is an interesting one, and I wanted to get your thoughts on just the historical quits that we've had in this show. What to you was the most memorable one, both from a game perspective and also just from a television event perspective?
All right, so yes, it's time for the most popular segment of the show. I actually don't know what the most popular segment of the show, but the historical discussion. And yes, this week we're going to talk about quitting. And before we kind of do our picks and all of that, I figured we'll provide a little service and share our research with everyone. So, because not everybody remembers everybody that quit. Can you believe that, John?
Not everybody has the encyclopedic knowledge that we do that exists on Google.
That's right. Not everybody can consult the wikis. So, in terms of quitting, there's different levels of quitting on Survivor, and some of them depend on definitions and what your opinion is, and we're gonna get our opinions down on wax here. But in terms of
What exactly are you recording on that you're recording on wax?
I have a cylinder just spinning here. It's why every time that you think Skype is cutting out, it's actually me just flipping it over.
That's why it takes so long to convert yours to MP3.
Well, it's the technology we have up here. But yeah, so full-on actual quitters, no doubt. They remove themselves from the game without visiting tribal or having a medical staff take them away. You've got Austin Taylor from Pearl Islands. He's the very first quitter, and boy, did Probst hate him.
He really did.
Jenna Maraska, and that's our transition. She quit in All-Stars when she thought her mom was going to die soon, which she turned out to be right about. Which, her mom was sick before she left, so I think everybody thinks that somebody was probably telling Jenna something.
Probably. And I don't blame them for doing so.
No.
That's one of those exceptions to the rule type.
There's the show, there's a game, and then there's, human beings and life. Also on that season, you had Sue Hawk quit after basically being sexually assaulted by Rich.
After having a little bit of man meat rubbed against her in an awkward challenge.
Yes, a little bit too much of the hatch.
Yes.
Next, you had Janu Tornell, who quit in Palau. What's interesting about her quitting is, despite that, she was still put on the jury.
The first quitter to be on the jury.
Yes. Now, I mean, nobody else quit in time to be on the jury, so it's kind of the situation. Now, it's from back then, I kind of remember there was a bit of a thing about it. Apparently, they stopped tribal and had to consult with the producers for like about a half hour before she would actually quit. And I think at that point, she was just basically, if I quit, will I still be on the jury? Because if not, she probably wasn't going to quit, and they would have voted out Stephanie instead. And I think the producers didn't want that to happen.
Fair enough.
So they probably all consulted. It's like, yeah, sure, be on the jury. So then she quit. Then you get to Micronesia, and you had Kathy Sleckman quit. She was on the fan side, and she was basically having a mental breakdown.
Sure. Like so many other quitters.
Yeah, but Probst was pretty gentle with her. Like, I think hers was legit. Like, they medicated her and everything when she got off there. And then kind of the nadir of quitting happened on the nadir season of the show, where in Nicaragua, 2 people quit.
Same episode.
The same episode. Pretty late into the season. You had Nyanka Mixon and Purple Kelly both quitting. And because of the precedent set with Janu, they also got to sit on the jury.
Which was a disgrace. That one of the many, many bad points of that season.
I remember reading something that Probst after this is like, we've taken some measures to ensure people aren't going to quit like this again. So I kind of wonder what that means for Colton. It's possible that the only measure they took is that they put it in that if you quit, you're not going to be on the jury. But I could see it being like you've sacrificed your pay.
That would be nice.
Or you're not at the reunion show.
I support both of those.
So the next, what they call an official quitter was Dana Lambert in Philippines. But, I mean, that girl was sick.
Yeah, she was in pretty poor shape.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave her the option of staying in. It's like, hey, do you want to keep puking your guts out and writhing around in pain but still play Survivor? Or do you want to go home?
It was like basically the most hardcore medical has ever been. Like they yanked people out a lot quicker for seemingly less, including one Colton Cumbie.
Shamar got sand in his eye and they were like, no, you can head home.
That was a later season, so maybe that was the very next season, so maybe they kind of like watch what they did with Dana and it's like, yeah, you know what, let's just cool it. 'Cause it looked bad.
It did.
And then the next one, we now have Colton Cumbie who quit.
And let's just move right on. Again, I'm not going to talk about Colton anymore.
And then this one's for trivia buffs. There actually was a person who quit before the cameras even started rolling, and that was in Fiji. And she has a name, but who cares?
Fiji is one of the seasons that I didn't watch, so I actually saw that name on the list and went, oh, I don't recognize her because she's from Fiji, but apparently you didn't either because she quit before the show even started, so no one recognizes her.
Yeah, I think if you really studied the opening credits, she was kind of in some of those group shots. And then they had to like crop her out of the group photo. But yeah, she had panic attacks and they had to start with an odd number of players. So those are the people that quit, and that's one level of quitting that's, even within there, there's a few that you kind of are like, I kind of get it, and some you're like, that guy sucks. But the next level is a little more interesting. Well, actually, so there's one guy that's kind of interesting that we should talk about. Ian Rosenberger from Palau. Did he quit?
Yeah, he is my most memorable quit in terms of how it affected the game. Because he didn't officially say, you know what, I'm out of the game, snuff my torch, or do whatever it is you do when I leave the game.
Yeah, I mean, they had an unofficial official tribal council where Tom and Katie both, voted for him.
Right. So, basically, Ian, after a marathon challenge against the beast that is Tom, just said, you know what, I'm done. I don't want you guys to hate me. Vote me out and you two can go to the finish. Which, to me, I think he was doing it to be the honorable guy that would be memorable. And that was a weird kind of way the show used to be like that. I mean, you used to think, oh, what a villain for wanting to vote someone else out. So Ian tried to play the good guy card, and just to show you how well it worked, never come back.
Sounds like he might have been asked for fans versus favorites and turned them down. So I'm hoping that means that he's still a potential, because I'd like to see Ian again. He was a good character. He was a good player. I don't consider that a quit. I mean, yes, officially he said the words, but it's kind of stepped off during a challenge. That happens all the time.
Yeah, but he engineered his own ouster.
All right.
I'm calling that a quit. And again, my most memorable one.
Kind of the thing though is he was gonna get voted out anyway. So if he didn't win that challenge, he wasn't moving on. So.
Well, the thing is, you gotta win the challenge.
And I don't think he was going to.
Yeah, Tom Westman we've discussed this before, he's quite the beast when it comes to immunity challenges.
And it wasn't just physical dominance. He was working some mental game on Ian on that one. He made him feel so bad that, as you say, Ian quit.
Yeah. Tom deserves a lot of credit for that season. He certainly dominated it.
So then the next level up are people who didn't officially quit. They were voted out, but they quit. And they asked to be voted out. And they're quitting quitters who quit. So the first one is a little different. It's Shauna Mitchell in the Amazon. She asked to be voted out, and they didn't vote her out. And she was all pissed off about it until the tribe switch happened, and suddenly she got to hang around men and flirt. And now she didn't want to be voted out, but they voted her out.
I don't even remember that one at all.
No, I had to look it up. In fact, I'm going to forget some of these. There's a nice wiki of official quitters, but these ones are a little fuzzier. Next is on Palau. There was a dude named Jeff Wilson who sprained his ankle and was all like, we can't go on. I won't be able to help you. So vote me out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was on the Oolong tribe that lost every challenge.
That was the most memorable part of that season for me.
Yeah. And we're on our way to an Oolonging so far this season.
I was going to bring that up earlier. We got 3 straight.
Yeah.
It's a start.
And these things kind of snowball. And if the returnees were going to lose anything, it was probably to get rid of Colton. So that's taken care of.
Yep, it is.
All right. We're getting now into more quitters who pretended to not quit, and Johnny Fairplay and Micronesia.
I have the theory on Johnny Fairplay. It's probably been written elsewhere. I didn't actually read it, but I had gone back and watched that show with my wife at some point. He basically shows up. It's almost like a celebrity that shows up to get their appearance check and then is like, all right, I'm going to call it. I'm just going to hang out for my required 15 minutes and I'm out of here. He pulled a Dave Chappelle, basically.
Johnny Fairplay found another way to cheat the game outside of the game. He didn't need a dead grandmother this time, but this is, again, kind of more behind-the-scenes stuff that, frankly, well, let's be fair, we're not behind the scenes. Maybe we're wrong about this stuff.
That's true.
But returnees tend to negotiate appearance fees as well, on top of the money they get for basically where they place. Typically because they realize that they are commodities that the show is marketing them around. So he had probably gotten some pay even other than the, 10 grand or whatever they'd get him for finishing 20th. So he got that check. He got the other one and was like, peace, I'm out.
Yeah, and I'd like to immediately apologize for comparing him to Dave Chappelle.
That's right. Dave Chappelle would stick around for the entire show, but he would just sit on a chair and not talk to the audience.
Actually, I was meaning more that at least Dave Chappelle has some talent.
So also in Micronesia, you had Chet Welch, who had some injuries with his foot because of coral and quit.
Chet was actually, he was the one that delivered one of the most memorable sequences from that season when he was partnered up with, it seriously looked like a sequence right out of Revenge of the Nerds. He was partnered up with the big, bruising guy who hated him. Chet was about an 80-pound, incredibly effeminate, permed gay guy. And Big Brute drags him right into a tree. And Chet says, "I'm hurt." And Joel, I think the guy's name was, says, "I don't care." And Chet says, "I know." That's the dynamic they had.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, he was talking about the coral on the foot, but he got hurt in that challenge.
He really did. He got messed up pretty bad.
Yeah, Jonathan Penner was removed as a result of that challenge, and Amy messed up her knee and had to get surgery for that challenge. That was the worst challenge that the show has ever done.
That was quite a death trap of a challenge, yeah.
So, yes, he officially quit, but I'm kind of putting it more in the Dana category that, like, dude was hurt. Yeah. And whatever. He wasn't going to do much on the show anyway, so.
Yeah, I'm agreeing on that one.
So then you got Brandon Hance last season, who was officially voted out after terrorizing his tribe and asking them to vote him out.
Let's move on.
That's a quit.
That's a quit.
And the last group is some medical evacuations, maybe a little bit suspect. So, Jeff threw some shade on Colton's first one. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure why Colton would have quit in that scenario, but it could be the same deal. Things weren't going his way and he just wanted to go.
He was actually in a fairly decent position at that point, but again, don't care about talking about Colton.
Yeah, so then you had Shamar and Caramon. That dude freaking quit.
Oh, definitely. Listen, I've had sand in my eye before. It hurts. But, you know what? At some point you can get it out. You'd be fine.
You put a buff over your eye and keep it closed for a bit, and then you go on. But that dude had no interest in doing anything. So there's a lot of other discussion with Colton, because why'd they bring him back? Is he the worst survivor ever? No. Shamar was the worst survivor ever.
I feel like I could give you a better name for worst survivor ever than Shamar, but he would probably make top 5 at least, though.
Yeah. And then I'm going to throw one more out there that's a little controversial. You can message me in the comments about this. Did Eric Reichenbach quit last season?
No. And you had sent me this in an email beforehand. No, I don't think he quit. I think, actually, if anything, he got screwed. I don't think he really wanted out. I think he thought that he stood a chance at winning, which is ridiculous. He didn't. But I don't think he wanted to be pulled out of the game, and they took him out.
I don't know. He didn't seem to be objecting too hard. That said, he also says that he had no idea where he was or what was happening. So I'll say that he didn't quit, but I do know that after it happened, some former survivors were like, he might have quit. And here's the thing. Yes, they took his vitals and they were bad, and I don't deny that for a minute. I'm sure that's what happened. But it was like day 38. What survivor's vitals aren't bad at that point?
Yeah, we're both married to nurses, and I'm guessing your wife probably said something along the lines of what mine did. Yeah, they're all pretty much like that at that point. So of all those, which one to you was the most memorable?
I guess there's a couple different ways to talk about memorable. Which one bothered you the most? Which one's changed the game the most? I mean, in terms of memorable, stupid Brandon Hance was pretty freaking memorable.
Okay, now
as much as I'd like to forget it.
Now, game-wise, which one was the most memorable? Which had the biggest impact on a season?
Yeah, I'm gonna go on and say none of them. Doesn't matter. And here's the thing that why I want to talk about a little bit more. People do get very pissed off when people quit, and I get it. That's somebody that was on a show that other people would want to be on. And Colton's this week was probably the worst because we know what kind of players that his presence kept us from. They could have brought back so many other better players, and they want to be there.
Right. We've seen the rumors of the potential cast list from this season, and pretty much everybody else that was on there was someone that we would prefer to have over Colton.
Yeah. Last week we talked about who should have been there instead of Candace. If we talked about this week who should have been there instead of Colton, the answer is everybody. Everybody who's ever played in the history of the game besides Brandon Hance would have been a better choice than Colton Cumbie.
Yeah, you'd be scraping the bottom of the barrel to find someone that would be worse than Colton.
But for the most part, when somebody quits, for me as a viewer, it's like, whatever, see ya, you know? I mean, usually they're framed as being terrible anyway because the show hates quitters. And they're also probably terrible. So I'm not sure anybody's quit has ever really had a meaningful impact on the game.
Again, I'm going to disagree because A, I call Ian's a quit. But also, I think Jenna quitting in All-Stars, maybe she shouldn't have been out there because, her mom obviously had health issues anyway. But I think she probably would have done okay in that season. I don't know that she would have won. You might be right that it wouldn't have necessarily impacted the how the game turned out. But I think she would have at least been an interesting character that season.
Well, the one problem with that is that was the season when people were targeting winners.
That is true. And there was also a whole lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that later leaked out about that season that just really, if you know it and then you go back and watch that season, you're like, man, what a mess this show was.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know it was going on, so it was a pretty entertaining season, the way that returning seasons often have been. But yeah, it was pretty much just an ugly mess, first and always.
It really was. We got to see the effect of outside alliances on the game and people trading on friendships, and led to some pretty bad burned bridges.
But otherwise, I mean, a lot of people quit the game are not in positions to win the game, so it doesn't matter. And usually they're terrible people who I'm like, oh, thank God they're gone. Like, Nayaka leaves, and she actually wasn't in a bad position to be a Final 3 GOAT. She had an idol, the whole deal, but it's like, thank God I don't have to see Nayaka ever again.
I will second that one. Yeah, I had no interest in seeing Nayaka. Although, in her defense, I had no interest in seeing pretty much anybody else on that season.
But, and then here's the other thing. For first-time people, I also just don't get all that upset if they quit because it's hard. I almost get why Nayaka and Kelly quit. I mean, the big reason is because they both suck. But it was cold. It was raining all the time. You're from Florida, so you don't get this. But from where I'm from, if you're outside a lot and just cold all the time, you start mentally bargaining with yourself, like what you would give up for some comfort. And that's just like if I've been, locked out of my house or waiting for something to open up. So at a certain point, you're anonymous Kelly, you're never going to win this game. And it's like, why am I suffering through this? What, for the amusement of people I will never meet? I'm out.
I was actually going to say that as a Floridian, I'm well aware of how it feels to just sit outside and be miserable in the hot sun and then get poured on by rain. So, you gotta make a more solid case for me to be sympathetic to you, Nayaka.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not sympathetic, but it's like, whatever, I get it. I didn't want you to win anyway. And yes, there's an element of like, this is what you signed up for, but you don't know until it finally happens to you.
And really, did they sign up for it? I mean, we'll hit on this in a future episode, but a lot of these people get recruited for the show.
I mean, they literally signed up when they agreed to go. And yes, they took the spot of somebody else, but whatever. There's like 19 other people on the show. I don't get too worked up about quitters. And again, like I said, it's because I don't consider Ian a quitter. Bring back Ian. He didn't quit. He just lost.
Well, speaking of being gone, give me your prediction for who's going home next week.
All right, so first we got to deal with the 3 Redemption Island people. We don't have the question if somebody's going to take their spot unless Jervis suddenly gets a change of heart. I think Mercer's gone.
I'm going to go with John.
All right.
And who do we think that is actually going to be going home from a tribe? First of all, do you think that this winning streak finally ends?
No.
You think returnees are going to win again?
Yes.
Okay, so then who is your prediction? Who's going home from that family member tribe?
You know what? Since that's actually what's going to happen, we'll end the show on that. So in the highly unlikely event that the returnees lose, and you know what? Maybe it's not as unlikely as we thought because Tyson will probably have to sit out. That's
true. I almost forgot about Tyson's shoulder injury. I'm sure that's going to affect the next challenge at the very least.
Yeah, so maybe they do win. So if that happens, who's on the bottom of the returnees tribe?
We got Laura M, Laura B, and Kat.
Yeah. So one thing, and this is from Twitter, and it's almost spoilery, but it's not. I saw Rachel today tweeting Sierra, just kind of like a thank you for saying something nice about me, and she was like, and I can't wait to meet your mom. Which kind of makes me think that Laura makes the merge.
Oh, look at you kind of maybe spoiling something.
So yeah, it's not really a spoiler. I might be reading into nothing. But typically, those that are voted out pre-jury all get to hang out with each other off island. So Rachel probably would have had a chance to meet Laura or Sierra's mom if that had happened. So I think Laura's safe. But I don't think their Big Five alliance holds up. I actually think that the blowback for Brad Culpepper and the way people are pissed off at him bounces on to Monica, and I think she's the next to go.
Really? Monica's part of that 5-person alliance, though.
Maybe not anymore. Maybe that's why Laura does not meet Rachel.
I will say that Monica could easily be jettisoned from that alliance. I mean, it was pretty clear that they were just searching for a spare wheel for that 5th spot, and they just landed on Monica. It didn't seem like it was necessarily we love Monica and we want to partner with her.
Yeah, I mean, why not just take Rupert's wife? She's no threat at all, and she'd be happy to be along for the ride.
And that may very well be what they do.
So yes, if the returnees go to Tribal Council, I predict they vote out Monica. What do you got?
I'm thinking they're going to pull the same strategy that the other tribe did, and they take out Kat.
Yeah, I gave pre-game reasons of why I don't think Kat's long for this game, so she makes sense. I just think that the hatred of Brad has gone so far that they just want to do something to him.
The one thing I will say about taking out Kat is that lady is jacked. I mean, that if they're at all concerned about physical prowess for challenges, she's one you'd want to keep around.
She's not losing to those other 2 girls in any 1-to-1.
No, she's definitely not. And especially when you have 3, let's call them more mature ladies on your tribe. Actually, I guess there's 4. I almost forgot Monica again. Yeah, maybe you want to keep Kat around as your youthful female.
All right, so let's get to who's actually going to go. Who's for the Loved Ones tribe is getting voted out because they're going to lose because they're the losingest losers who ever did lose.
You're just thinking this is going to be a Palau season again. They're just going to just go to Tribal Council every single time.
Just what have you seen that suggests that they could pull it together? Like, it hasn't been close.
Solid point. I was seriously sitting there thinking, okay, well, what do they have over the other tribe? I got nothing. I mean, unless it's, hey, let's see how far you can carry this big, heavy bag, which has been a challenge before.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe next week is the put the weight on the guys with the sticks thing. And then the Loved Ones win. There's no doubt about it because Aris isn't that strong. Tyson wouldn't even be able to hold a bar. And who's the other dude? Jervis? Yeah, so they win that one.
Yeah. If Survivor's trying to make sure that the Loved Ones win a challenge, that's what we're getting next week.
All right, you convinced me. See you later, Monica. So, which Loved One do you think is next on the chopping block?
I think...
You can say it.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, it seems fairly obvious. I think Brad gets kept around as the human shield thing, as I mentioned earlier. So you're really left with one of the 2 ladies. And I think that Vitas probably realizes that he's going to want to keep Katie around because he's got a alliance going with Katie's mom. So I think Sierra gets jettisoned here.
No way, Sierra's winning it all. There's something special in that girl and her ability to not get voted out. Yeah, I don't believe that. If the Loved Ones go to Tribal Council one more time, then how strong their tribe is just doesn't matter anymore. They're never going to even the numbers up. So at this point, you have to start playing for who's going to help me get alliances from the other side. Who's going to help me build something with people that might be marginalized on the other side? Who can help me win in the next phase of the game? And the answer to all of those questions is not Brad. So I think he's gone.
Okay. I guess we'll have to wait and see how this one shakes out.
Indeed. But, we all know that I've already, at one point, predicted who's going to leave because I'm amazing.
That is true. You are the Nostradamus of Survivor. In that you frequently miss a lot of your predictions and then give yourself credit for the ones that you hit.
But what's actually going to bring me down is my failure to pick against my terrible picks at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, that Sierra pick is not looking very good for you. We'll get into some AV Club Survivor League discussion next week, though. All
right, and speaking of next week, just as a programming note, I might not be around next week. I'm going to go visit that crazy country that doesn't have a government or anything like that.
USA.
But we are going to endeavor to have a Purple Rock podcast anyway, so tune in next week to see what Judge scrambles up.
Yeah, exactly. I do have some backup plans. Just prepare yourself for next week. It might be incredibly terrible. As you guys have noticed from listening to this, Andy pulls all the weight. I'm just here to be a voice that he can respond to.
Yes, because I only talk to myself about Survivor in my head.
This podcast is only mildly more interesting than you talking to your bedroom wall.
No, you bring the triple threat as discussed earlier.
Yeah, my physical prowess and my superior good looks really come through in this podcast.
If you'd like to follow the podcast to find out when a new one is posted, besides just checking back in the message boards of this week's episode, you can follow us on Twitter at Purple Rock Pod.
You can send us an email on Gmail at purplerockpodcast@gmail.com. And you can even follow us on Tumblr at, I think it's purplerockpodcast@tumblr.com.
All right, so thanks for listening, and that's all.
Yeah, at least I will see you next week, if not Andy.